Gigantamax Battles debuted in Pokemon Go this weekend, and the reception was, well, but I don't think Gigantamax Battles are entirely bad. I don't think it's bad for a game to introduce endgame content that players can't interact with yet because they aren't prepared. I do think it's bad for a game to introduce endgame content that players can't interact with just because they happen to live in a place where there aren't enough other players around to help them succeed. Unfortunately for rural players in that situation, I don't know what can be done short of lowering the difficulty or allowing remote play, and I have no confidence in Niantic to do either of those things. So if that's the situation you find yourself in, please feel free to air your grievances down in the comments. Okay, well, leave it to Niantic to make me look stupid. As I was editing, they literally just announced that they're making Gigantamax Gengar easier. They're lowering the difficulty, but only for Gigantamax Gengar for now. Here's what they said. They're adding a 25,000 Stardust reward for each completed Gigantamax Gengar because you have to spend a lot of Stardust getting yourself ready for this, so they want it to feel like it's worth the amount of resource investment. Good. They're increasing the catch rate. Players should feel rewarded for accomplishing these battles. The catch rate was pretty bad over the weekend. A lot of people who barely squeaked by managed to beat the actual battles couldn't catch the Pokemon because the catch rate was too low. That's increasing for Gengar. And they are adjusting the difficulty slightly, tuning Gengar to make the encounter easier compared with other Gigantamax encounters. So Gengar will be easier this upcoming week. That's not going to necessarily continue into other bosses, but it does give us a good opportunity to experiment and learn, which is what this video is all about. I'll tell you more about it, but Niantic interrupted me. Where was I? Oh yeah. Even with all the preparation in the world, this feature just isn't accessible to everyone, and that's an ongoing problem that Pokemon Go doesn't seem interested in solving. Difficulty aside, I think there are plenty of other problems, but there's one main issue. The way the feature launched set us up to fail. We spent 5 weeks with soloable Tier 1 and Tier 3 max battles that didn't teach us anything about the new mechanics because we could beat them the exact same way we've always beaten raids in Pokemon Go, by just tapping away and spamming attacks. Over the 5-week introduction period, Pokemon Go didn't prepare us for the difficulty of Tier 6 Gigantamax battles. For 5 weeks, we had no reason to use Max Guard or Max Spirit. We weren't taught how to use them, and we weren't taught how important they would actually be. And so when it came time for Gmax battles, we slammed into them like a brick wall. We had to figure it out on the fly in a high-stakes, time-limited situation that led to anger, frustration, complete dismissal of the feature. So yeah, Niantic did a bad job with the release, but what else is new? I've spent my entire YouTube career coaching people through Niantic's mistakes. Look, there's already plenty of discourse online about what Niantic should change about Gigantamax battles, and it's all valid. But let's be honest with ourselves, deep down, we know Niantic's probably not going to change anything here. So I want to approach this from the other side. We can't control what Niantic does with the game, but we can choose how to react to it. We can give up on day one, or we can try to figure out this new challenge. I know that there are smaller communities out there of 10, 15, 20 players who canceled their Gmax meetups after seeing that groups of 40 were failing. But if we can figure out how to beat Gmax battles with 20, then eventually we can figure out how to beat it with 15 or 10 or maybe even less. And if this video can help one smaller community beat a Gmax battle, then I'll be happy. And look, if your choice is to just not interact with Gmax battles at all, I fully support you in that choice. I have always advocated for playing Pokemon Go the way that you want to play. Don't do the things that aren't fun for you. I mean, when's the last time you saw me do GBL? Or really even raids, for that matter. Fortunately, Gmax is an entirely isolated system within the bigger game. It's probably not great game design, but helpful here if you don't care. That Gmax Charizard doesn't actually do anything new outside of Gmax battles. It's functionally identical to the Mega Charizard that you raided for 2 years ago, or the Shiny Charizard that you caught on Community Day 4 years ago, or the Charizard that you caught as your starter Pokemon 8 years ago. So if you want to skip out on Gmax entirely, it's fine. You're not missing out on anything but the actual Gmax battles. Look, I'm not trying to convince anyone that Gigantamax is good. I'm not defending Niantic's decisions in any way. I just want to help anyone who wants to participate but doesn't have the proper knowledge to get started. So for anyone who does want to participate in Gmax battles, I don't think they're as impossible as all the noise over the weekend made it seem. I'll give you the summary up front. When it comes to spending resources, the level of your max moves is more important than the level of your Pokemon. Having level 3 max moves is more important than having level 50 Pokemon. Just spamming damage isn't sustainable. Max Guard and Max Spirit are necessary, and you have to communicate with your team to understand who's an attacker, who's a defender, who's a healer. And please, please don't back out when all your Pokemon have fainted. Cheering for your team actually contributes to winning. This is a new battle system. It's not the same as mindlessly tapping away in raids, and we have to approach it from a new perspective. Treating max battles like raids is only going to lead to frustration, as many of us experienced over the weekend. And I think that shift in perspective is the most important part. The first step to overcoming this new challenge is to view it as exactly that, a new challenge. So here's what you need to know. And keep in mind, this is still all very new, so this isn't going to be a perfect guide. We're going to learn a lot over time that's going to help us get better at this. But for now, the purpose of this video is to get us headed in the right direction. So here we go. Gmax battles are much more like a traditional RPG party-based raid. In each group of 4 trainers, you're going to need both offense and defense. You'll need Pokemon using max attacks to deal damage, and you'll need Pokemon using max guard and max spirit to defend and heal the attackers. Now, not every Pokemon needs to do both. You don't need to unlock every max move for every Pokemon. Each Pokemon can be either an attacker or a defender. Since we're all limited by the amount of max particles we can earn in a day, I'm going to focus on efficiency first. In the future, when you have max particles to spare, you can unlock all the moves on all your Pokemon, but for now, let's be efficient. Max attacks have a base power of 250, 300, and 350 at each level. Gmax attacks have a base power of 350, 400, and 450 at each level. So a level 1 Gmax attack has the same power as a level 3 Dynamax attack. Once you have a Gigantamax attacker, it's going to be better to invest in than older Dynamax Pokemon. But you'll probably need to power up a Dynamax attacker to take down your first Gigantamax Pokemon anyway, which is another important point in the perspective here. Dynamax and Gigantamax feel the same, but they're really meant to be sequential. You need to invest in some Dmax Pokemon before you can move on to Gmax Pokemon. Just like how you had to invest in some regular counters before you could take down legendary raid bosses to use in future battles. We're just in a hamster wheel of getting the thing so we can get the bigger thing, so we can then get the bigger thing, and that's just kind of always what this game has been. The shortened timeline of release from Dmax to Gmax makes it feel worse, but it's essentially the same thing as catching wild Pokemon and powering them up so you can do raids back in the day. Okay, back to moves though. Max Guard gives a shield that blocks 20, 40, or 60 damage at each level, and Max Spirit heals each Pokemon in your party for 8, 12, or 16% of their max HP. My understanding of Max Guard is that it only shields the Pokemon that uses it and not the entire team. But after using Max Guard, the boss will target you with its attacks, meaning you're acting as a tank, pulling damage away from the rest of your team. Shields are worth more than heals in terms of damage reduction. If we look at my Metagross, which has 162 HP, a level 3 Max Spirit heals about 26 HP. That means a level 3 Max Guard for 60 damage is worth 2.3 heals on a single Pokemon. But there are 4 Pokemon in a party, so if each of them has 162 HP, a single Max Spirit actually heals a total of 104 HP, assuming they've all taken some damage. It's hard to say whether Max Guard or Max Spirit is more beneficial overall, and honestly the answer probably depends on the situation. By using Max Guard, you're forcing the boss to target you, and in that way you're preventing a lot of damage from being dealt to your team. But at the end of the day, the most important part is communication. As a healer, you need to be aware of your team's HP, which is visible at the top of the screen during the Dynamax phase, and if they're low on HP, you need to heal to get them back up. If they're all good on HP, then you can use Max Guard to tank upcoming damage during the next regular attack phase and protect your team that way. Okay, hopefully now you understand how moves work and we can move on to actually prepping for battles. Step 1 is to decide whether a Pokemon is going to be an attacker or a defender. If it's an attacker, you want to invest in its max attacks. If it's a defender, you want to invest in max spirit and max guard. The biggest limiting factor right now is the amount of max particles you can earn in a day, and the second factor is XL candy. For now, I'm focusing on the Kanto starters, Beldum, and Ghastly, because they've all had community day, so I have a decent amount of XL candy to spend on them. If you're efficient about collecting max particles every day, 1 week should be enough time to max out 2 max attacks, 1 max spirit, and 1 max guard. So in just a week, you can have a fully prepared team of 2 attackers and 1 defender. And I'd suggest 2 different attackers so you can have better type coverage. Your Pokemon don't need to be level 50. Spending XL candy to get your max attack to level 3 increases your damage way more than spending XL candy to get your Pokemon to level 50. Taking a Charizard from level 40 to 50 only increases its attack stat by 5.8%, and it costs 296 XL candy. Taking a G-Max attack from level 2 to level 3 increases its damage by 12.5% and only costs 40 to 50 XL candy, depending on the Pokemon. So, if you don't have a ton of XL candy, spend it on the moves. They make a much bigger difference for a much smaller amount of candy. You can definitely get by with level 40 Pokemon, and if you're low on Stardust, honestly, even level 30 Pokemon might be okay for this. Alright, you know what you need to do with your Pokemon, but the preparation doesn't stop there. You need to know what your teammates are doing also. I suggested making 2 attackers and 1 defender so that you're prepared to play either role, but you should talk with your team to figure out who's doing what. 2 to 3 people can be attackers and just bring full parties of attacking Pokemon. 1 person can be the healer and bring a full party of defensive Pokemon, and 1 person can kind of play a flex role, maybe bring a little bit of both. The amount of healing that each party is going to need is different depending on the raid boss. Some of them are stronger, they're going to deal more damage. Some of them don't deal as much damage, and you can get by with less healing. But don't worry, eventually we'll figure out what's best for each boss. For now, start with a few attackers and at least 1 healer. If you feel like you're not getting enough heals, you can try again with 2 healers. The important thing here is knowing who's in your party. If you're in a group of 20 players, try to get your parties together and have the groups of 4 join the lobby at the same time. If everyone rushes in to join at the same time, you're going to get placed with random players, and you're going to have to figure out who's in your party and who's playing what role, all while the timer is already ticking down. By having dedicated attackers and defenders in each party, you're going to have the best chance of defeating the boss. If all the attackers are in one party, they're going to do some damage, but no one's going to heal them, so they're just going to faint. And if all the defenders are in one party, then they're going to heal each other, but they're not going to deal any damage. So you have to have a mix of both in each party. Okay, let's get to the actual battle now. There are a few very important mechanics to be aware of. The battle is basically divided into 2 alternating phases: the regular attack phase and the Dynamax phase. During the regular attack phase, you're using your Pokemon's fast and charge moves to deal small amounts of damage to the boss. As you deal damage, you charge up the max meter at the top. The amount of damage you deal is directly correlated to how fast the meter fills up, so try to use super effective moves to deal more damage and charge faster. During this phase, the boss will also be attacking you. There are 2 types of attacks: a targeted attack that only damages 1 Pokemon, and a group attack that damages everyone in the party. The single target attack is about twice as strong as the group attack, so it's essential to try to dodge it. When you're being targeted by this attack, you'll see a little Spidey Sense warning above your Pokemon's head, and the battle log will say "Attack Incoming." The Spidey Sense is the indicator that tells you it's time to dodge. Swipe left or right to dodge the attack after you see the indicator appear. The dodge doesn't completely block the hit, but again, this attack is really strong, so you definitely want to dodge it to reduce the damage. The group attack doesn't have an indicator in the same way. The battle log will say the boss is preparing a large attack, and the timing seems to be a little different for each move. I haven't personally been able to confirm that this attack can be dodged, so that's something we'll need to figure out. For now though, it seems like this group attack is just always going to hit for some damage. For now, the most reliable way to avoid some of that damage is to just switch to a different Pokemon to tank the hit. If you can switch to a Pokemon that resists the attack, or a weaker Pokemon that's not as important as your main attacker, that Pokemon can take the damage, and then you can save the HP on your main attacker. You can also actually do this for the targeted attack if you're fast enough. You can switch and still dodge to avoid even more damage going onto your main attacker. While you're attacking, you'll occasionally see max meter bubbles appear next to your Pokemon. You can collect these by dodging left or right to pick them up, and they'll give you a boost to your max meter and get you closer to the Dynamax phase. So during the regular attack phase, your goal is to charge the max meter as fast as possible while also trying to avoid as much damage from the boss as possible. Once your max meter fills up, everyone on the team is going to Dynamax or Gigantamax, and you get 3 turns of max moves. The boss doesn't attack during this phase, so you want to get to the Dynamax phase as fast and as often as possible. If you're an attacker, you'll want to use your max attack. If you're a healer, take a look at your team's HP at the top. If it's low, use max spirit to heal them, and if they don't need heals, you can use max guard to shield yourself and tank damage during the next regular attack phase. The strategy in Gmax battles is different than soloing tier 3 Dynamax battles. In a solo, sometimes it's a good idea to use a tank to soak up damage during the regular attack phase and then switch to your attacker during the Dynamax phase. Don't do this in a Gmax battle if you have a healer on your team. You want all the damaged Pokemon to be in the battle at the same time, so when the healer uses max spirit, it heals all of them. If you put that damage on a different Pokemon and then switch to a Pokemon that's fully healed, that Pokemon is sitting there with its HP down and it's just not going to get healed with the rest of the team. If at the end of the Dynamax phase your attacker's HP is still low, you can switch to a different attacker during the next regular attack phase. And then when you get back to the Dynamax phase, you can either keep that attacker in or switch back to the first attacker, depending on who needs the heals more. So the Gmax battle essentially consists of navigating those 2 phases. Charge the meter as fast as you can and dodge to avoid damage during the regular attack phase, then use your max attacks or heal your party during the Dynamax phase. If all of your Pokemon faint during the battle, do not leave. Cheering for your team actually helps them. Tap to fill up your cheer like a charge move, and then when you use that charge move, you're going to add 20% to your team's max meter, which helps them get to the next Dynamax phase faster. And getting to Dynamax is the most important part of the battle. And look, if you're in a random lobby where you don't know anyone in your party, just play the healer. Most people are probably going to want to spam damage because that's all we've ever had to do in Pokemon Go, and it's always worked for us in the past. During the Dynamax phase, you can see what your teammates are doing at the top of the screen, and if you notice that they're all using attacks, just heal them. Keep healing them because they're going to keep attacking, and as long as you keep healing them, they'll stay alive to keep attacking. Now, while there isn't a strict timer running on the battle, there is sort of a hidden soft timer. After about 6 minutes, the boss is going to become enraged and use a really big attack that basically just one-hit KOs everyone and effectively ends the battle. So unfortunately right now, it doesn't seem like a single party of 4 can beat a Gmax boss with enough skilled play. But simulations by Dr. Nobody on the Sylph Road show that it could be possible with 2 groups of 4. As little as 8 players could get this done. We're in the infancy of this challenge right now, and personally, I'm looking forward to taking it on. And I hope that there are enough people out there who are interested in it as well, so we can figure this whole thing out together. Remember, it's just day 1. Nobody knew it was going to be this difficult, and a lot of us, myself included, didn't bother investing resources in Dynamax Pokemon over the last month. It's okay if we aren't ready for the challenge yet, but I hope you won't let one tough day defeat you. Spend some time this upcoming week unlocking max moves, building out your attackers and defenders, and let's see what happens with Gigantamax Gengar when we're a little more prepared. And actually, I'm about to finish editing here, but next weekend, if you're in LA, Awesome Adam and I want to have a meetup for Gigantamax Gengar battles. We're not sure exactly where yet. We're trying to figure it out, get in contact with some local communities on Campfire. But if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I'll definitely post it there. Maybe I'll do a community post here on YouTube and let you know exactly when and where next weekend we're going to do a meetup. So if you want to spend the week making some attackers, maybe some defenders, I would love to get people together. 1, to help people get Gigantamax Gengar, but 2, to just like experiment to see if we can figure out what strategies work best for Gmax battles. And hopefully by doing that, we can figure out how to make them easier and help smaller communities all around the world just succeed at this new feature. So, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Let me know again down in the comments any thoughts, any feelings, whether you love it, hate it, can't participate because you're the only player in your entire town. Comment down below. I've already sent all my feedback to Niantic, but I would love to hear what you have to say, and maybe I can send some more feedback if there's anything that hasn't already been addressed. So thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll see some of you next weekend. Twitter, Instagram, follow me so you can find out where we're going to be. And I'll see you soon. Bye.